If you're looking to start a side hustle selling products online, one of the two biggest platforms you can use right now is Etsy and Shopify. I started my sticker shop 2 years ago and I've used both platforms pretty extensively. So today I'm going to be going through 6 different criteria and I'm just going to be giving my thoughts based off of my experience in hopes that it'll help you make the right decision on what's best for your shop. Okay, so let's start off with everybody's favorite topic, and it might be the most important one depending on your budget, which is cost. So as of today, if you're based in the US or Canada, this is how the fees break down. Etsy charges 20 cents per listing, which lasts 4 months, and they have a transaction fee of 6.5%. They also have a 3% plus 25-cent payment processing fee, as well as a 12% offsite ad fee. So let's just talk about this offsite ad fee for a little bit. This is a fee that Etsy will take when they're advertising your products in your store to the outside world of the internet. So they'll take your product and advertise them on places like Google and Facebook, and if somebody clicks on that ad and buys your item, that's the only time you get charged the 12%. So you only get charged this fee when you make a sale in this specific way, but talking to a lot of people, a lot of you guys really have an issue with this particular fee because there's no way to opt out and it is a really high percentage. Like 12% in addition to all the other fees that Etsy is charging is pretty high. But for me and my store specifically, it's really been a non-factor. I looked into my Etsy stats and it turns out that out of the 5,000 sales that I've had on Etsy, only 4 of them have come through this method. So I've only been charged 12% these 4 times. So yeah, I don't know if that's typical. I don't know if that's high or low. I don't know if there's a reason Etsy's not advertising my shop as aggressively as others, but I'm actually curious now. Like maybe you can do me a favor and check your own stats and let me know down in the comments like what percentage of them are coming from offsite sales. But getting into Shopify's fees now, you can see that they have a different payment structure completely. They're charging monthly plans and the cheapest one starts at $29 a month. They also have a payment processing fee, which is 2.9% plus 25 cents per order. And there may be some other charges as well. If you're using a paid theme or paid plugins, those are usually charged on a monthly basis as well and will add to this cost. So which one wins here really depends on your volume of sales. If you're selling $1,000 a month or tens of thousands of dollars a month, Shopify is gonna win here because you're paying a flat monthly fee versus the 6.5% that Etsy is charging. But if you're just starting out, which most of you are, and you're not sure if you're gonna get many sales yet, I'd actually recommend Etsy because that 6.5% extra fee on Etsy isn't going to cut into your profits as much as Shopify's flat fee. And when you're just starting out and you're starting from 0 customers and 0 sales, it just doesn't feel the best to be having $29 taken from your account every month, regardless of whether you're making sales or not. Like on Etsy, you can start with a really small investment, like just $10, and that'll get you 50 listings that you can post and they'll last for 4 months. And you're not gonna be charged anything extra until you make a sale. So for the winner for cost, I'm actually gonna give this one to Etsy just because it has a lower upfront cost. I feel like it's better for the majority of people who are just starting out a business online. I think when you're first starting a business, it's really important to keep your upfront costs as low as possible because you don't know if you're gonna get sales right away. You don't know if you're gonna get customers. And starting a business is already really risky. And having a high upfront cost and investing a lot of your money into it, in my opinion, is just not a good idea. So moving on into the next category, which is ease to get started. So starting with Etsy again, Etsy has really streamlined the process of making a shop. It's really as easy as signing up for any online account. Like if you're signing up for an email address or a social media or something like that, you're gonna be very familiar with the process. So after filling in all the basic information like your name, address, and I guess the only extra thing is your bank account, the only thing left you have to do is to update your banner on your store page and your profile picture, which they're really simple and really easy to do. I think for me, when I was first starting up my Etsy shop, getting everything set up and having a listing ready for sale, it only took me like an afternoon to do it. Like it's not hard at all, it's not very complicated, and I think anyone can do it in a very short amount of time. With Shopify, it's a little more involved because you really have to worry about how everything in your store is going to look. And even if you're using themes, you're still gonna have to dial those themes in. Like you're gonna have to choose the colors, the fonts, the pictures that go on every page. It's a lot more work than it is on Etsy. Not only that, a lot of stores on Shopify use plugins as well. And you're gonna have to go through different plugins and get them set up and make sure they're compatible with your theme and other plugins that are on your store. So you might run into some issues getting all that sorted out as well. For me, and this might be because I'm such a perfectionist, it took me about a month to get my store set up in a way that I was happy with and ready to launch. So yeah, that's definitely a big difference than the afternoon that it took me to set up my Etsy. So for that reason, Etsy wins this one too. Next up is customizability, and you'll see that this category is really a trade-off of the last one. What makes Etsy really easy to get started on also makes it very limited. If you're you're browsing through your Etsy settings and looking for ways to make your shop stand out, you'll see that there's not really that many ways to do it. Like I said before, the only things that you can really change are your shop banner and your profile picture. You really don't have any control over how your shop looks other than those two things. With Shopify, the sky is really the limit. You can have as many pages as you want, and every page can look different and specific to how you want it to go. Like, you can add different pictures, use different fonts, you can adjust the headings, the menus, the footers. Anything you really want to change, you can do it. Another great thing about Shopify is that they have tons of themes to choose from. They have both free and paid themes available, which you can go and choose, and you can tweak them as much as you want. Or if you know how to code, you can actually start completely from scratch and code your own theme. So you really have full control over how your shop is going to feel and how it's going to look. Another feature Shopify has is the ability to customize your messaging. When someone signs up for an account on your store or they make an order, you can actually customize what notifications they'll receive through email and SMS. You can add pictures to the emails, and you can really customize exactly how you're communicating with your customers, which is something that Etsy just doesn't allow at all. If you've been following the channel, you know how important I think branding is when starting a business, and changing the way your shop looks and the way you communicate with customers is a really great way to show who you are as a company, and is a great way to build a strong brand. So the winner for this one is clearly Shopify. The next category is customer support. Customer support is something that you don't deal with every day. Like, hopefully you're not talking to Etsy and Shopify customer support every day, but it's something that's still very important. Both companies offer what they call 24/7 support, which includes live chat, email, and phone. But from my personal experiences, they're very different. Whenever I had an issue with one of my stores and I actually needed to contact support, it just seemed like Shopify was way more responsive. Like, one time when I was adding a plugin to my shop, it kind of broke the cart page. Like, the items in the cart page were showing the wrong currency. It was showing US dollars even when I was on the Canadian version of my site. Anyways, I contacted support through their live chat option, and they had a programmer look at it and fix the issue in less than a day. Overall, it was really smooth, and the people I was talking to were really pleasant to deal with. With Etsy, even though they say they have 24/7 support, I feel like a lot of the time they redirect you to email, and it takes way longer than expected. For example, one time I got an unfair negative review. In the review, the customer said they never got the package and left a 1-star review. And the tracking number, which was like from a month ago, was saying that was delivered. And even though it was a standard request, like, it shouldn't have taken them very long, I think it took them over 3 business days to finally get back to me and finally resolve the issue, which could be a long time, right? Like, a negative review isn't a huge issue, but if you're having issues with payment or something going wrong with your store, 3 days is a long time to get back to somebody. So I don't know if this is the case for everybody. If you've had a different experience, leave it down in the comments. But for me personally, I'm gonna have to give the winner to Shopify. For category number 5, we have analytics. So analytics is something that is actually really important to me. I don't know if it's because I'm a big nerd and I just really like looking at numbers, but I really do look at them a lot, like at least once a week, just to see how my shop is doing. I'm always trying out new marketing strategies, like I'm trying to get better at marketing, and it's nice to look at the data to see what's actually working, like what content is working or what products are doing well. When you're going on Etsy and you're going through their stats section, there's just something about it that just feels really outdated. They do have a lot of information there for you, like where your traffic is coming from, and even what search terms that are being used to find your products. But I feel like the UI just isn't very good at all. You just have to do a lot of clicking into specific sections to really dig in to get the information that you want. And sometimes it can get really tedious. Shopify, on the other hand, is like a dream to use. You can tell that they put a lot of effort into how everything looks and how everything works. There's this main dashboard page that shows an overview of all the important metrics that you care about. And there's even a report section that lets you really dig into the details if you want to know more about that too. Another thing that's really useful is you can see data on a specific customer. Like, if somebody is buying something from your shop, you can see if they're completely new to your shop and bought something right away, or if it took them like a couple of visits to your shop before they bought something. It's just a good way to know exactly where your customers are coming from in real time, so you can figure out what's working. So yeah, I do hope that Etsy one day does spend more time focusing on their analytics page. I do think there's a lot of potential there, but for now, Shopify wins it for me. For the next category, we're going to be looking at long-term outlook. I feel like short-term thinking is kind of dominating our society right now. Everybody's looking for shortcuts. They're looking for some hack or advantage that can get them as much money as possible in as little time as possible. And in my experiences, when I had that mindset, it just didn't work out that well for me. There's a quote from Naval Ravikant, who is someone that I really admire and look up to, and he says that the best returns come from compound interest, and compound interest comes from playing long-term games. There's a lot of value that comes from doing something for a long time. Like I've already been seeing it from my YouTube channel. I've been on YouTube now for almost 2 years, and I can see that I'm still benefiting today from work that I did 2 years ago. And it's really been mind-blowing to me, and which is a big reason on why I'm just always trying to make decisions based on long-term effect. When I'm looking at Etsy through a long-term lens, the biggest thing that concerns me is that even though I'm making a lot of sales on Etsy, the customers that are coming through my shop, they actually aren't mine. They actually belong to Etsy. I'm gonna give an example here because it's not really the clearest thing, and I'm hoping it'll help more people understand. But one of the most basic ways to communicate with your customers is through an email list or through email marketing. Say you have a new product or you're having a sale and you want to communicate this information to your customers. Emailing your customers is one of the most basic and effective ways of communicating new information to them, and Etsy actually doesn't let you do this. A few months ago, I was looking to run a sale through Etsy, and I was trying to find an email list of all the customers that I've had in the past to email them about the sale, and I couldn't find any way to export that data. And after doing some digging, I found out that it's actually against Etsy's terms of service to email your customers in this way. There's third-party tools that will help you extract an email list from your customers, but I really don't recommend them. Because if you're caught emailing your customers in this way, you can actually get kicked off of Etsy. The bottom line is that even if you're making sales and you've been on Etsy for a really long time and customers know who you are, if they're buying through Etsy, they don't belong to you. Like the customers actually belong to Etsy. Etsy is setting up their marketplace in a way that is trying to protect themselves, right? Say I'm making $100,000 selling candles on Etsy, and one day I just decide to stop. If you're looking at this through Etsy's perspective, you can understand that they don't want to just suddenly lose $100,000 of sales a year. So what they're gonna do is just send that traffic to another candle maker shop and make up that revenue. If you think about it, it's actually really smart on Etsy's part, but if you're trying to build a long-term brand for yourself, and you're trying to build something that will last like 5-10 years, I don't see how building on Etsy is gonna be that great of an idea. With Etsy, I feel like they just make it so hard for you to build a memorable brand that you just become another store on Etsy. And I feel like what's actually happening is that you're borrowing their customers, which can make you a lot of money. But I feel like if you're just thinking long term, it would be better to be on Shopify. But yeah, kind of a subjective category, but I thought I'd give my thoughts on it. I just feel like when you're on Shopify and you're building a brand and you're doing all the right things, like you have a good product and you're focusing on customer satisfaction, when you gain customers, those are actually your customers. And I just feel like on Etsy, they're not. Like you're borrowing them, which can make you a lot of money, but in the long term, you wanna be on Shopify for that. So Shopify's gonna win here. So with all that being said, and going through that whole Etsy Shopify showdown, you might be thinking that Etsy sucks and it's Shopify all the way. You should just start your shop on Shopify and that's it. You have to remember that Etsy and Shopify are two completely different things. Etsy is a marketplace and Shopify is really an e-commerce website builder. Etsy has spent the last 17 years building a huge customer base. They have over 96 million active buyers and they spend over $2.3 billion a year on the platform. When you open a shop on Etsy, you get access to that, right? And that access is extremely valuable. They've spent millions and millions of dollars over the span of their existence to build that customer base, and they're letting you borrow it. And by borrowing them, you can actually make tons of money. In a lot of ways, being successful on Etsy is a lot easier than being successful on your own Shopify store. On Etsy, you really just have to focus on having a really good product and really good SEO. You don't have to worry about customer acquisition at all. On Shopify, you have to worry about everything and you're really building from zero. I can say with confidence that my sticker shop wouldn't have been successful if I started on Shopify first. It's a lot of work to build up a site on your own, as well as developing a good product and then starting from zero customers. Like, I don't think I could have done it. So yeah, even after going through everything and all the comparisons in every category, I still really do recommend Etsy for beginners, just because it's a really great way to validate if you have a good product or not. You have to remember that there's no one-size-fits-all solution for everybody. Every decision comes with trade-offs and pros and cons. What works for me might not work for you and vice versa. For me, I have a shop on both platforms and I'm actually very happy to be on both. I really do believe that with everything out there and with all the tools we have today, it's never been easier to start a business from home. In the end, it might not even matter which platform you choose, as long as you just choose one and get started. Like, you never know where it might lead. But yeah, I think I'm gonna end it there. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you found it useful. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.